Don't, you don't want to say it in front of a judge, okay? While we're recording. Okay. So is that what you guys signed up for? Is that what you're ready for? Hoping we can talk about? Yes? Okay, excellent. Second, who's ever taken like a workshop or been part of a workshop that I've led before? Great. And who never has? And then who doesn't raise their hand no matter what I say? Just Tyler. Okay. No, I'm teasing. You're welcome to come in if you're wandering by and wondering. So one of the things that's really important to me is I really truly believe this idea that everyone here has something of value to bring to the room. That everyone here has wisdom, has insight, has knowledge about the topics we're going to do today. So rather than being like an expert up on stage speaking from on high, my goal is to kind of be a guide next to all of us so that we can learn from each other. So look around the room, you're going to learn as much from the people next to you as you will from me, okay? Maybe more. And so as part of that, you're going to want to be really interactive and engaged, okay? And we'll talk about that in a minute. For those of you that are on Zoom, and you can listen to this if you're in person too, right? It's going to be really helpful if you have your camera on. It's going to be really helpful if you're prepared to have your microphone on. If you want to ask a question or you want to say something to the large room, for those of you that are at home, I don't know where to look, Brian. If I look at that, they'll see me. Hi guys. If you have a question, go down to the bottom of Zoom under reactions and raise your hand, and Brian will get my attention so that we can hear your voice in the room. We'll actually be able to hear you in here, and Brian will be able to see you. We're also going to be putting you into breakout rooms. And for you all in this room, we're going to be putting you into breakout groups, sometimes pairs, sometimes groups of 3, sometimes groups of 4. And so be prepared to physically move around. Or if I could say it to you in person, make sure you got your camera and your microphone on, right? Be prepared to interact and engage that way. Okay? Is everybody on board with that? If you are, give me a nice thumbs up. Excellent. That is a legally binding thumbs up. All right. Perfect. The third thing I wanted to mention.
Hey, I was just gonna say good morning. I'm doing a turn and burn today on the road, so I'm probably not gonna keep my camera on, but I'm here.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Thank you.
And that's gonna be interesting when like voices.
I get you. Hold on, Denny.
So the third thing, we're gonna be finished before noon today. And is that all what you're expecting? Is that what you have scheduled? Perfect. I do have a break scheduled for midway through. We'll have about a 10 or 15-minute break, and we'll have a little.
Did it sound like it was coming out of there?
No, during that break.
I just turned it up. So.
Okay. My goal is to provide you with tons of value that you come out of here like knowing 1 or 2 different things you can do differently that will improve your business, your life, the way that you work. All right. Are you okay with me taking, I think it'll be about between 4 and 6 minutes to share with you how you might choose to work with me in the future if you want to talk to me. Coaching, whether it's group coaching or one-on-one coaching, is it okay if I take like 4 to 6 minutes to share that with you if we provide tons of value? Yeah, I'm seeing mostly head nods, and if you don't agree, you could drop off Zoom at the end. Okay. Excellent. Well, with that, let's get started. One of the things that I think is really important around communication and time management is learning to be where you are, right? Is actually learning to be present to either the conversation that you're having with a person, right? Or if you're maybe working on other types of communication, maybe you're video recording something or you're typing out an email, to be present to that activity, which is increasingly more difficult. Yes? It's also true that when we're doing like a task, it's often we find that our minds are in 7 different places at once. And so one of the most important things that we can do is choose to be present where we are, right? Our bodies can only exist in one time and one place. And yet our minds can be in the past, they can be in the present, they can be in the future, they can be here, they can be at home, they can be all over the place. And so what I want to do to get us started is to ask you a question, and this is a great question that you can ask yourself kind of all the time. But specifically for you, I can tell you why I think this is important today. But I'd rather ask you this question, which is, why is it important that you choose to be here today? One of the words that we're trying to eliminate in our family, or phrases we're trying to eliminate in our family, is the phrase have to. Right? Oh, I have to do this, I have to do that. No, you don't. We're like, but Josh, no, you have to pay taxes. No, you don't. You can live rent-free, right? 3 meals a day. You don't have to pay for housing or anything. All you have to do is stop paying your taxes. And you'll get, right, like free living for life. You don't have to do anything. Now, there's consequences for choosing to do things or not do things. I have to be at a signing. Yeah. You don't have to. And here's the reason why. This is why it's so important to change this phraseology, right? Because if you have to do something, the control is outside of you. The technical language on this is the locus of control, the center of what's controlling you. I have to. Or you can choose to. You can choose to fix the clogged toilet. You can choose to, right? By the way, there's all kinds of things. You can choose to go to your kid's soccer game instead of I have to go to my kid's soccer game. You can choose to generate new business with buyers and sellers rather than, oh, I have to go find more business. It empowers us. By the way, if you have a little bit of like a rebellious spirit, this is really going to help you succeed a lot because you'll actually choose to do the things that you want to do or the things that are going to be effective for you. If you tend to bristle when you feel like somebody's telling you what to do, choosing it becomes a really powerful way to more consistently do the activities that cause success for you. That make sense? So my invitation for you right now is to consider why is it important that you choose to be in this room for the next 2 hours and 45 minutes? Unless you're trapped, in which case. And so go ahead and grab your pen wherever you're taking notes. And just jot down a couple words or phrases that capture this for you. Welcome. What we're doing right now, we're reviewing a question. Why is it important that you choose to be here today? And then Brian, in a second, I'm gonna put people into breakout rooms. Put them into groups of like 3 or 4 in the, I don't know how many people you have in Nickelbed. So yeah, jot down some words or phrases. I'll give you a couple more thought joggers to think about. First of all, start selfish. Why is it important for you to choose to be here today? Right? Like, what do you want to get out of this today? You could also think, why is it important for your clients, right? For the buyers and sellers that you work with. If you improve your skills in communication and time management, what would that do for your people? How about for like, I'm gonna use the word family, but like the people you do life with and people that depend on you. What would it do for them if you were able to improve in these areas? Oh, excellent. Who needs something to write? People right. Anyone? Have more? First, I know some of you are like digital natives.
Yeah, I'm like writing notes.
That's code to be on. You can also think like, why is it important that you choose to improve in these areas for your community? Yeah, understood. Like I said, digital natives. Yeah, generally the breakdown is like millennials and younger. And to find these archaic analog things. So. Although there's an interesting move that they're finding with that cohort that is starting to like really appreciate things like vinyl record or like throwback and so on.
Whatever, we've moved on to actual cassette tapes from vinyl.
Cassette tapes.
That's the new.
Very good. Well, then I'm gonna tell you, you need to get a pencil with some masking tape wrapped around it so that you can wind that cassette tape.
Good.
I can't wait till they go to 8 cracks.
What's that?
I can't wait till they go to 8 cracks.
Right. I'm technically what's called the Oregon Trail generation, so it's the group right between Gen X and millennials that grew up playing Oregon Trail on an Apple IIc computer with floppy disks, the big one. Excellent. All right. Here's what we're gonna do next. We're going to, throughout the day, we're gonna be going through a learning methodology, right? And this is based on like the best that we know about how adults learn. And I'll talk maybe a little bit more about this later. Is we're going to go through a series where we're gonna reflect. That's what we just did. I asked you a question, you have a chance to reflect on it. Then we're going to connect with other humans. This is part of, or one way to bring in experiential learning. And so we're gonna actually reflect on the conversation that we're talking about. And then the last thing we'll do is we'll share in the large group. Because that will allow any learning that comes up in your small group to then come out into the room. Again, we believe that all of us is smarter than any of us. And so when we share that wisdom, knowledge, and intelligence with each other, there's gonna be a lot to learn. A couple days ago, I was in Homer teaching for the association down there. And I did a short teaching session, it was like 5-6 minutes. And I taught something around, and then I said, hey, what were some of the most important things that you just heard? It was fascinating. This guy was sitting off to my left, kind of like where Kevin is. And he responded. I thought back about what I had just spent 5 minutes teaching on. And I did not say what this guy shared. I did not say it. Like, we could go back, we can watch the tape back, we can read the transcript. And yet, that's what he heard, that's what he learned. Right? There's this important principle, right? Like when the student is ready, the teacher appears. It's often that your own learning is ready to emerge right now in this room. And something may get said that helps catalyze that helps cause that learning to like be established. But it's not necessarily like, this is what I came to teach, therefore you must learn it. Right? It's like, no, there are lessons that are coming at you all day long. When you actually have time to pause, reflect, set aside time and space to choose to learn, then those learnings are going to emerge. And so I want to encourage that, like, don't feel like you only have to learn what's on the slides. Learn whatever may emerge in your conversations with the people around you. So for our first connection, what we're going to do is we're going to get into groups of 3. There you are, all smiling and happy. And the first person is going to share. And that first person should take about 1 minute. So we're going to do a share for 1 minute. And just share why it's important for you to choose to be here today. What you're hoping to get out of this, what you're hoping to learn, maybe something you've already learned, I don't know. And then what we want to do is what's called reflecting. And the other 2 people in the group will take about 30 seconds each to reflect back something that they heard, something that they can appreciate. So appreciate means 2 things. It means to, like something. I really appreciate that. It also means to cause to grow, right? Like your investments appreciate in value, hopefully. Right? And so we want to appreciate that. We heard something of value and we want to cause it to grow. So we're just to reflect back something that we value, that we appreciate, that was energizing, life-giving, something like that. Take about 30 seconds each to do that. All told, and then repeat until everybody's had a chance to go. Okay? So I'm gonna share for 1 minute, and this is why it's important for me to choose to be here. The other folks are gonna reflect back, and then we're gonna repeat that. All told, we're gonna be in these groups for 8 minutes. So you have a little bit of realtor time in there. And while you're discussing this, be listening for themes or energizing ideas or new learnings that have already emerged, right? In the first 24 minutes. Okay? And then Brian, you know how to put them in breakout rooms and do that whole thing? Or else I can come over and do that in a second. You're on your own to come up with your groups of 3. I bet you could figure it out. We have about 3, there might be 1 group of 4. Okay? All right.
What do we do?
Begin, oh yeah, when he comes back, we'll be okay. Cool. All right. Have you done breakout rooms? Okay, so they could either stay there and just make it so that their conversation doesn't come over the.
All right,
Speakers.
why is it important?
Or we can.
So Danny, what are you saying is.
Breakout room.
Why you feel.
Okay, guys, in a second, you're gonna get a blue button on your screen. I don't know, Bill, if you're all alone, because Bill Grant doesn't have the camera on, and Roger I don't see. I know Holland is driving. Oh, there's Bill Grant. Hey, buddy. Hey, Roger, there you are. So I'm gonna press this button, and a blue button is gonna appear on your screen for you to go into a breakout room. At that point, go in and have the conversation that we discussed.
I didn't write down.
Talk about why it's important to choose to be here. We'll bring you back in about 6 or 7 minutes.
Learn what they emerged.
Enjoy your time.
We already.
Bill should be able to unmute. Oh,
But
Grant.
it's good to bring it back. forward.
What's that?
So was-
Lauren, excuse me. Thank you.
Well, I'm
All right,
here.
enjoy. And then, Holland, you can either just choose to listen, not do anything, or. And then Roger, you should have a.
1 minute timer.
They're in there.
Sure.
And then when they're done, close. It'll be like either a 30-second or 60-second countdown when you do.
So I always enjoy.
You happy with how we started here, Bill? Not your ability, it's fine.
We're good.
There's so many bills, I got confused.
Yeah, right. Good.
And honestly, working time management, I'm not great at, but I. What would that do for me? That would help.
I think you take your time. And
Excel.
unless.
That's what I'm looking for.
It's to meet at the vote.
I'm here so that Katie does not have to save my life, and I get into, I call her, which is so quiet, that says call us immediately. You're of course about something that is not.
And we managed that very well. That was less than 5 minutes.
No, actually, I wrote down, I have a friend who used the word, courageous, which is being courageous and vulnerable at the same time. So on the way out the door today, I was like searching for my keys and my partner Jake came over and was like, I was like, we have to do something about it, like, and he's got his like flashlight, and I was like, take a step back, and like, get a strip of it. And he was like, consider drawing on the way. I was like,
That's wrong thing to say.
I was like, okay, I was like, I was like, you know what? I have made some great strides that I was able to execute for women here, and I realized that perhaps my delivery could be better, and that is something I can work on. So I've done a lot of work around communication in the last couple of years, but know that that's like a complex process, right? Like we continue to grow, we continue to have clients grows for a loop that, you know, a 15-minute response time is not quick enough for them. So I think, you know, great communications makes things a lot less confusing, makes our lives easier. So like to continue to add to the tool of relax to be a good communicator is something that's really essential for all of us, because, you know, like, just when you think you've done it all, there's some new twist, and for sure, never heard staff have new twists. Yeah.
All right.
Hey, permission.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, she knows. I'm a little heavy. You get good stuff. Permission. The lights out at work and Jim's like this and he's making it possible. Was there any time management in here? Oh, yeah. It was, yeah. And so with that, yeah, something, yes. Yes. Yeah.
I took journalism and something that I focused on for the past 6 months is just like consistency in my day, and I've seen it a bunch of like, not, like I always have been a pretty like self-disciplined person, but I have refined that, and I am like so good now, like I'm making over 100 calls a day, which is no problem. But as wonderful as my time management is in my work life, my personal life, my time management is like. It is so bad, like, so if I like had the time to like, my house needs a deep cleaning and organization, and that is something that I have deprioritized and not time managed. So if those things were in place, if I took the stupid, if I took like 5 minutes to go through my purse, then I would not have been thinking through it. So yes, there are opportunities, I mean, there's always opportunities for me to grow in the business time management, but I feel like I'm refining that. But where it is the life part, I haven't done as good a job of balancing that.
I call myself mediocre.
Yeah,
I can get to work on time. I get to my appointments on time.
yeah.
Anything else after that is kind of like.
Yeah.
I do, you know,
Yeah.
for all the purposes I do, but. I'm blocking, managing that, I need to do financials, you know.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, like coming from working at, I mean, like you come on a very good like run that you have that together, but then also too, I like share all the TV, and I can appreciate how many times we've been interrupted, not just by us, but by ours, like you get it from here and you're just like.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, what that looks like, is that like, there's like, big office access, and you know, that like. If it's not, if it's a non-emergency, you're plugging during these hours.
What does that look like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that could be a hard adjustment.
Really see.
Yeah, everything, exactly. It's the urgent and important sharp.
So, there, reflect.
Yeah, anything, yeah.
And repeat.
Anything new that has come to light, like Jenny's.
And he wants to do it.
It's true. Yeah.
I do every day. Literally every day, you know, the situation will pop in a file, I've been doing it 20 years. So it's like the time for you, but, you know. But all.
Yeah. Yeah, permission to ask a question, how often do you get a question from someone in one of your pockets that you're like, oh, never thought of that. Which is the best learning.
And that's probably why I go to Denny. Yeah. Probably. I've got such- What do you think about?
Cause he's kind of like, these are the 5 times it's come up, and this is the way it's
He's
got.
always got a really good response. Run. That's. Yeah. But that's always what I look for, is who's gonna tell me the truth and not, right? Because I don't want that, that doesn't help me or anybody else, that's why I gravitate.
Yeah, just let me here, figure it out. All right. Hey, take one last second to wrap up. Go ahead and give your neighbors a high five.
Go team.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. Hey, who's in a group with someone awesome? Very good. Excellent. Excellent. So I'd love to hear from a few of you, 2, 3, 4 of you, and they're not back yet. They're still chatting, but when they get back, we'll maybe hear from them too. What were some of the things that came up in your group? What were some learnings that have already happened? What is some energizing ideas or themes that you noticed in this early conversation?
We tended to, all three of us talk a little bit about pushing the regulation and the
Okay.
whirlwind that we are in, how to control it.
Yeah, time management and how to control the whirlwind. Yeah, very good. Very good. Interesting. Thanks, Kevin.
He likes whirlwind.
Yeah, I do. I'm having some thoughts on it and I wanna, I really appreciate that. And we'll maybe chat about it a little more here in a bit. Excellent. What else came up?
Procrastination.
Procrastination, like what a gift it is and how good you are at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Procrastination. Oh man, I'm just gonna keep my notes up here. Okay. Cool. Excellent. Procrastination, we're gonna talk about a little bit about that, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
And we talked about, scheduling the stuff that has to be done first, because, the day gets away from you as more things pop up.
Yeah,
And then also, time blocking or telling clients that you have an appointment, even if it's something like going to the dentist or your son's soccer game or whatever.
or an important nap you wanna
So
take.
it's as important as, so it doesn't make them feel unimportant. But it's important.
100%, 100%.
And
Yeah, we're gonna talk about 2 strategies around that today, that I think are gonna be immensely valuable. Yeah, so thanks for bringing that up now, it's really good. Yeah. Perfect.
So mine is constantly refocusing on your 80-20 multiple times throughout the day. And
Yeah.
making sure that you're focusing on that 20% that counts and not getting distracted by the 80 that we all
Absolutely,
tend to veer towards throughout the day.
yeah.
Refocusing on that.
And there's a thing about the 80-20 rule, Brian, that I think a lot of people like misunderstand, right? I'm gonna riff on this for just a second. Thanks for bringing this up. So, as you know, the 80-20 rule is sometimes called the Pareto principle. There was an Italian economist who looked at the where all the wealth was held, and sure enough, like 80% of the wealth in Italy, whenever this was, I forget when it was, a long time ago, was controlled by 20% of the people. What we found is this rule applies in a lot of other ways. One of the funniest ones is like, if you go to your closet and open it up, 20% of the clothes you wear 80% of the time. Okay, I think that's actually the most valuable metaphor for what Brian's describing, which is the 80-20 rule around the tasks that you do. Okay, and so I want you to think of it like your closet. I'm going to turn your closet on edge, and you have all of these different sorts of tasks, right? All these tasks that are available to you. But like your clothes, you don't have to wear them. Right? So like watching cat videos on YouTube is a task that's available to you. Right? And while it might be taking 80% of your time, it's giving you 0% of the things that move you toward your goals. If you ever hear me use the word productive, what that means is activities that are moving you toward your goals, toward what you want in life, right? And so what we have to do is say, well, what are the things I really, really want to do? What are the things that are really important to me? Important to my business, important to my family, important to my health, important, like those things. And then going, what I notice is there's about 2 or 3 things that I do in a day. Those are the worst stars. that actually seem to move me forward. And then there's a whole bunch of crap that doesn't. Right? There's this great book by a guy named John Mark Comer. I haven't read it yet because I got almost all I needed out of it, the title. And the title is The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. If you can begin to ruthlessly eliminate all of this junk that doesn't get you where you're going, it's shocking how much you can get done. And I'm gonna tell you a story about an agent I met who did that really well, a little bit later. Awesome. Anything else, that came up in your group that, we could benefit from?
I think we all really held on to the idea of choosing things in your life versus having to do them, so I think we all kind of reflected on that quite a bit, choosing to be here when we're all busy and all, obviously we see value in
Right?
learning these skills, but choosing.
Yes.
Mindset's a pretty great mindset.
Yes, yes. It is so powerful. The weirdest example of this for me was we had gotten a new to us used travel trailer. And so we took it out on kind of a shakedown cruise to see what all would break. And as we were driving home, super hot day, it was like 95 degrees in Columbia River Gorge, driving back from Idaho. And all of a sudden, tire blows up, which usually means dad blows up, right? And so I look over, I see my whole family like in fear for what's about to happen. Because of one, I don't do well in the heat, and then two, I don't do well with like those types of situations. And for whatever reason, I happen to be in one of those rare moments of a really good mindset, a good place of like choosing. And I said, this is perfect. And my wife said, this is super weird. And she's like, why? And I go, well, because now I get to figure out, like, does the spare work? Does it fit right? Do I have all the equipment I need in case something blows up? We were able to find this perfect spot in the shade where I'm out of the like interstate traffic. This will be great. Why don't you guys go in the RV? Why don't you make some sandwiches, get some drinks? I'm gonna do this, and then we should be ready to go in somewhere between 5 minutes and an hour and a half. Right? But like when we can choose it, and I think this is one of those things like, oh, what are you doing? What do you have going on this week? Right? Oh, well, I don't know if you've ever heard realtors say, oh, I have to lead generate, or I'm not doing it. I have to get my newsletter. That switch of I choose to get it out. Now, is it brainwashing? Yes. 1000%. But I remember a team leader, Beth Brett said this to me once. I was like, I feel like you're brainwashing me. And she goes, your brain needs washing. Like a wire brush needs washing. Right? I know it's like living in my brain. It totally needs washing. Right? So that's okay. And so begin to develop this mental discipline of choosing. It's actually really empowering. Okay, excellent. Well, thank you all so much for engaging so well. What I want to do next, we're going to introduce an activity here in a second. And this is really around a couple different things, but one of them is this kind of first step we're taking toward great communication. And I learned this from a guy named Jeff Hoffman, and Jeff Hoffman created Expedia. You've heard of that? And then the other thing, just interesting side, he's one of these like capital E entrepreneurs, like serial entrepreneur types. He created when you go to the airport and you can go in, you can print off your boarding pass like a machine. You don't have to talk to a human or anything. And you can get like your bag tags and all that. He invented that. It was so in the olden times, you would go to the airport and you had to stand in line and then wait for them to print off the thing on like right? And then here's your, and like that's how it used to be. And he's standing in line. And so there are ATMs. Why don't we have these? Right? So I was on a little call, there were about 40 or 50 of us. And he was talking to us about how to identify like your favorite, he used the word customers, and how to learn to communicate with them really effectively. And one of the things he talked about what was so interesting is he was out on a call with a salesperson. The salesperson had like a 20 slide deck, right? Or like in our context, it would be like our listing presentation that you spent all that time working on, and it's got 47 pages to it. And he said the salesperson sits down with this woman at the kitchen table and begins to go through the presentation and just observing, and he said on the second slide, he knew she was ready to buy. And then this guy went through all 20 slides. Right? And so afterwards, like doing a debrief with the guy, he goes, why did you do that? He goes, I don't know, because I was trying to go through all 20 slides. He goes, knock it off. He goes, if they want to buy on the second slide, let them buy. And in fact, here's what we're gonna do now. Let's figure out who our second slide customer is. Who are the people that want to buy on the second slide? So you don't have to sit there and try and arm wrestle them into it over the course of 20 slides. Right? By the way, this is how you should be doing your listing presentation. Sit down, ask them, what's most important to you that we discussed today? And then what they say, that's what you talk about. They don't care about marketing. Don't spend 20 minutes talking about how great your marketing is. Right? They don't care. Talk to them about what's important to them. And more importantly, find your second slide customer. Who are the people where you walk in and you know you've got the listing before you even drive over there? Well, how do we find our second slide customer? This is the simplest way that I've ever found. I'm gonna share with you a little bit later, how I applied this for my business. But I literally did this in real time. And I'm gonna invite you to do it, is he said, grab your phone right now. And he's like, I want you to pick 6, 8, 10 people that are your favorite people to work with. Right, in my case, it was coaching clients. I started texting my coaching clients. Hey, and I texted them this question. What is the one most important reason you do business with me? What is the one most important reason you do business with me? Now, because people are people, only 10% of the people in the group did it. And so only 10 of us got the value from it. But I did this in real time, 10 people. I texted them while we were talking, and over the course of the next hour and a half, something happened that is exactly what Jeff predicted. He said they're gonna come back, and about 8 out of 10 are all gonna say the same thing. They're all gonna say within a few words, like almost the exact same thing. And sure enough, that's what happened for me. And so you could do 10 if you want over the next few minutes, or you could do, my invitation would be to do at least like 1 or 2. And if you want to give it some more context, you could say, hey, I'm in a class right now, and the instructor wants us to ask the question of our favorite people, of our favorite clients, our favorite customers, our favorite friends. What is the one most important reason you do business with me? Or you could put it in realtor talk a little bit, and you could say, what is the one most important reason you refer people who have real estate needs to do? Okay? So let's do that. And then what will happen over the next couple hours is you're gonna start getting texts back. And every once in a while, let's press pause on what we're doing and hear what you all are finding out from your second slide customers. From those people that you love doing business with and that they love doing business with you. Now, if you just moved here and like you haven't sold any real estate yet, pick somebody you think might refer your business, right? And say, hey, I know that we've talked about real estate before. What would be the one most important reason you might refer me to your friends that want to buy or sell? Okay, so I'm gonna give you a couple minutes to get started on that. Of course, type the text once, without the person's name on it. And copy it. And then copy it, right? And then what you do is then you type the text, you say, hey, Julie, send, paste, and then send the body of it. I'm gonna chat a little bit more about this while y'all are texting, so you don't need to stop what you're doing. We sometimes try and spend a lot of time trying to be all things to all people, right? My encouragement today is consider the possibility of picking the people that you love doing business with, that love doing business with you, and just double down on that. Like lean into that. The way I've described this before is, what many of us do is we build businesses that are like builder beige. We were walking to a house and the walls are painted that like 2 milky latte color. That was actually probably like more like 15 years ago. Lately it's like gray. It's like the light French gray. Well, why do we paint houses that color? The interior house that color? Because nobody hates it. But nobody's ever walked in. You hate it? Yeah, you hate it because it's too much of it, right? You just see it all the
My
time.
whole apartment's like in the same song.
Yeah, yeah. Well, put a mindset wall in, brother. Right? Like,
I did.
yeah. And that's the thing, right? Like you think about, for the most part, it fades into the background. And so, you know, you've never had a buyer walking, oh. I put too much cream in my coffee the other day and it looked just like this and it just makes me feel so happy. Like, no, it doesn't. Nobody hates it, right? But if you walk into a house with like a garish accent wall, people are like, I love that, or I hate that. And I know I'm speaking in extreme terms, but like, why are we building businesses that no one hates? Build businesses that some people love. And what you're gonna find is there's gonna be themes as you hear back from some of these texts. This is how people describe you out in the real world. This is how your people that will refer you, talk about you. Lean into that. It literally becomes your value proposition. It becomes because probably what it is it's a value that you hold, but you've never actually expressed it out loud as like, this is why people do business with you. All right. Excellent. Take another 15 seconds to do that. Did more people? Looks like more people. Cool. And of course, if you're watching at home, please be sending these texts too. I think it's really valuable. All right. Did anybody get a response back already? Not yet. Okay, that would be really fast.
I did.
Oh, you did? What did they say? You had to read it first?
Oh, okay. There is no way to only give one reason, but if I have to do one, it is because you are thorough. But there's about 5 other big reasons.
Because you were thorough?
Thorough, yeah.
Thorough, okay. You guys work with her, does that feel authentic? That feels genuine? Yeah, right? And so this could become part of like when you're sitting down, like, hey, one of the things you get when you work with us is that we're very thorough. We have an 87-point checklist that we do, right? Or we always cover every base. We all, you know, like those types of things become really important for the types of people that want someone who's really thorough. Ooh. Right? But let's notice over the next few hours, who else texts back if that theme shows up 3, 4, 5 times, like, that's who you are. Right? And so be who you are. Cool. Anybody else get one back? Yeah, what happened?
Uncompromising integrity.
Uncompromising integrity.
That's a pretty good one.
Oh my gosh, like you would pay a consultant thousands of dollars to come up with that phrase. For real. Yeah. So now it's like, okay, how do we build that as part of our communication when we're talking to people? Right? A big part of communication is like the message itself. And so what's the message? Let's hear from our people and then reflect back to them what they're already saying. Kind of silly, but it really works. Like literally using people's own vocabulary back to them is a really important way of building connection with folks. By the way, back to our listening presentation we were talking about, as people are talking to you about what's important to them, what they want to make sure that you talk about today, when you're taking notes, use their exact vocabulary and use those words back to them. Right? Don't use your synonyms, use their words back to them. Right? It'll be like, ooh, they get me. Right? Okay. Here's what we're gonna do next. We're gonna move into what's called a paired interview. Who's done a paired interview before? Okay, with me, all right, perfect. Some of you actually have, just don't remember it, so we'll make it more exciting this time, so you remember it. So I'll talk you through what the interview is like, and how to do that in just a minute. But before we do that, here's how it's gonna work. Remember, we're gonna do reflect, connect, share. Okay, so I'm gonna walk you through the questions that we're gonna be discussing today, so you'll have a minute or two to like think about them before you respond while having a conversation with another person. Okay, then we're gonna move into an interview where it's gonna be you and one other person, and one person's gonna ask all the questions, and then we'll pause and then switch and ask all the questions back. And then we're gonna share a little bit, real briefly, what came out of the interviews. Here's what I want you to do while all of this is happening, is I'd like you to observe the experience. I want you to observe the experience of asking questions, giving someone your full attention, staying in a posture of curiosity, and listening to them while they respond to your questions. And then I want you to observe the process of being asked questions, right? Having someone give you their full attention, responding to the question, and I want you to notice that. What things are you thinking? What things are you feeling? What's that experience like? Right? We don't often think about how important these things are in communication. Now, there's something called the observer effect, which is actually going to change your behavior because we're observing it. And that's okay, because maybe we'll get some learnings about how we communicate when we're at our best. And introduce that more consistently into our communication when we're having conversations with people. Okay? And so that's at least part of the process we're using today comes out of the thinking of what's called appreciative inquiry. There's a principle in that called the simultaneity principle, which is you can be doing multiple things at once. So one of the things you're going to be doing is you're going to be thinking about reflecting on these questions. You're also going to be having a conversation and noticing the conversation. So there's going to be layers of learning. It's like an onion. We're imperfect. There's layers. And so, yeah, there's a lot that will be possible for you to learn over the course of the next few minutes while we're doing this. But for now, go ahead and grab your pen and jot down some words or phrases that capture this. You don't have to write a paragraph, but if that's good for you, you're welcome to. I'd like you to reflect on a story of a time when you were awesome in real estate. You're just like, this is when I was at my best. Again, if you're new to real estate, reflect on an experience when you were awesome at what you did previously. Right? Or another area of your life where you were just like, I was killing it. This is not a place for humility right now, for humbleness. It's a place for just as much like honest, noticing of what you're great at, go for it. As you reflect on that story, what lesson can you learn? And how might you double down on it? How might you do more of that? I guess Grant Cardone would say, how would you 10x? Right? You'll have time to go further into this as you're having the interview. The next question is, what is your superpower? What's your superpower? What is like your unfair advantage? one of my beliefs is everyone has an unfair advantage in some area of their life. Leverage the heck out of it. Right? Get really good at it. You guys don't know this, I am a terrible fisherman. The worst. But I have this unfair advantage, which is that I am completely unafraid to ask for help. So I say, hey, Brian, I go to Alaska, you wanna take me fishing? And I crush when I'm up here. So all my friends back home think I'm really good at fishing. I am not. So bad, right? But I ask for help. I work my network and I ask. And people love to offer help when you're incompetent and curious. Right? So like I could learn. Or I could just make friends. Just make it fun. What's your superpower? What's your unfair advantage? How do you do more of it? And as it relates to your business, how are you telling the world about it? How are you actually communicating? This is what you're really good at. This one, I've been thinking about this question for a while. I've never asked this question in a group like this before, but what is your favorite way to communicate? Like, what's your preferred medium for communicating? Is it face to face? Is it on the phone? Is it? Do you have friends that voice text? Right? I've got a few friends, that's all they do is voice text. It's fascinating to me.
When you say voice text, is it like
They like audio.
the memos?
They send you an audio. or
Yeah,
memo?
yeah.
Audio memos. So weird. But they love it.
I love it.
And you love it.
I want to hear the inflection in my.
Yes, yes, you love it. That's good, right? Maybe you like writing, maybe you like video, maybe you like, I don't know. Semaphore, that just came to me. Flags, maybe in Boy Scouts, learned flags. Okay, it's me. Alright. What's your favorite way to communicate? How can you do it more often, better, and consistently? Okay, I'm gonna put these questions back on the screen here in a minute, but for now, let's talk about, and Brian, in a second, you're gonna put them in breakout groups of 2. So you just toggle the number of rooms up until the bottom it says 2 or 3 in each breakout room. So, and then for anybody who's not participating in it, maybe I'll come over now. Okay, so what we're gonna do, you're gonna have 2 people in the paired interview, there may be a group of 3. The first person is going to ask, the second person, A, is going to ask all 3 questions. Couple pro tips on interviews. You want to stay in a posture of curiosity. It's an interview, not a conversation, right? So if Kevin says something, I don't go, oh, that happened to me too, right? That's a conversation. A lot of times conversations can actually be a little competitive. It's like, oh, you have a cool story, and my story is even cooler, right? An interview is questions and staying in a posture of curiosity, listening, and attention. Okay, if you get through all 3 questions, not likely, but if you do, come up with your own, make up some of your own questions. Okay, but stay in that questioning role. At the end, that's super hard to read. At the end, and I'll give you a time prompt for when it's time to switch, the interviewer is going to, I'm interviewing Kevin, is going to say, hey, Kevin, thank you so much. The greatest gift that I got from you, or, you know, Kevin, I was most inspired when you shared that, okay? And you're just gonna reflect back something that causes that person to be seen, felt, and heard, okay? And then you'll switch, you'll do it the other way, all right? All told, we're gonna be in these groups for, for 14 minutes, so you'll have 7 minutes per side. All right, what questions do you have about the interview, how it functioned? Very good. New invitation, for how we're gonna pair up. The goal is to talk with somebody that like you didn't come with or that you don't maybe know as well. So I go ahead and take a quick look around this room. And I want you to pick a spot in the room, like pick a physical location in the room. It might be like right here next to this door. Okay? When I say go, you're gonna stand up, you're gonna go to that spot. Once you get there, whoever's closest to you, that's your interview buddy. Then go find a place to sit, and begin your interview. Right? This is our randomization tool. Yeah, you might want to take notes, so you're welcome to take those with you. I'll put the questions back on the screen. And begin. And then let's see. Who do we? So do and recreate the room. And we're going to start here. So what I'm looking to do is get that down to 2 to 3, and then who is not. Colin's not participating.
She's driving.
She's driving. Is everybody else? Oh, this is. Well, that's Okay, so we're gonna move them. So one of y'all is gonna be in a group of. Oh, wait. So, what's that? Is
It might be a little tough for me to participate, but I'd love to observe if I could.
Wait. Like that? Okay, my Melissa is
the main bridge.
Okay, great. So there is gonna be a group of 3 with Holland in it, so Holland, if you're not able to join us, just keep doing what you're doing. And enjoy your interview, you're on your own for timing, we'll be back in about 12 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, guys. The tricky part of the hybrid, where we have in person and Zoom, is somebody's getting a secondhand experience. In this case, it's them, like, that's just how that goes. For second tier experience.
Barb, you gotta hop on and join Roger.
Yeah, probably.
All right, guys, we're gonna have a couple of extras in there.
Yes. Like you got me in climate. A year ago, it's driving in that rain, but no wonder I see nothing but accidents. Anything else, Lion rabbits yesterday?
Yeah. That's a cool. It's a good thing. Like there is. I wouldn't.
We got found. Yeah. Okay, Ryan. In Rome. He like studied in Rome. Yeah, just for 3 years. And that was really. I got out of there. And. All right, here we go.
So I have. It's actually. And I'm a big. Okay, so I'm going. You're always just. Sorry, so you're.
All right, go ahead and wrap up that interview, and then you can stay where you're at. Ryan, if you can close there. Go ahead and wrap up your interview, and don't forget to appreciate the interviewee. And then you're welcome to stay where you're at. All right. So as I mentioned, right, we were obviously having a conversation about communication, but I also want to talk about the experience of doing an interview, which is just one form of communication. But as you pause and reflect on that experience of asking the questions of, right, giving full attention and curiosity to the person that you're asking the questions of, and then also experiencing that on the receiving end, what lessons can we learn about communication from that experience? Or just another way to say it is like, what did you notice was made possible from that interview experience?
Well, I had to keep in mind the part about, oh yeah, I had a similar experience, you know, I mean, I was like, focus on not responding with that.
Yeah.
That was my natural inclination.
Sure, yeah. So,
But, I enjoyed that, actually, it was good way to get to know people.
yes. My wife's an introvert. Have you heard of these people? No, I know there's several of you in the room. And her, it is amazing. So whenever people meet my wife, I could just set my watch by it. They're gonna come up and they're gonna say one of two things. First thing they say is they're like, your wife is so beautiful. Like I'm some sort of bridge troll. How did I get her? But the other thing they say is they're like, she's such a great conversationalist. And I always laugh and I'll go up and I'll be like, so, you know, Joe said you were a really amazing conversationalist. So what did you say? Because I didn't say anything. I just asked Joe questions. He talked about himself and he thinks I'm terrific, right? It's 100% true. So that's what Matt experienced, right? You can actually enjoy that process of just asking great questions and choosing to listen. And not only might you enjoy it, but also they will get a lot out of it.
Like, you know, what Matt said is, it is really hard to just listen, not be thinking of something to say.
Oh, yeah. Yes, of what to say. So I love that. And you can be really strategic about this, like choosing, I'm gonna listen. Because if you pause, I listen all the way through till you said everything you're gonna say. And then I pause and I think about how I'm gonna respond, maybe even say that, go, oh, that's great. And think about how I'm gonna respond. You can say it out loud. Right? You say, you second time, respond to that. Oh, yeah. And then you say something, it's not that long. I paused for like 4 seconds right there. Felt like an eternity to me, felt like no time to you. But you don't have to think about what you're gonna say next. No, you do it parties, right? Where it's all about witty banter and one up people and funniest story, blah, blah, blah. That's like how that game is played. But for this, we're talking about, you don't have to think about what you're gonna say next. And back to our listing presentation. If you practice, you don't have to think about what you're gonna say next at all, because it's just there. It's in your Rolodex of scripts. Oh, they want to talk about commissions. I already know what it is. Oh, they want to talk about marketing. I already know what it is. But practice. Shocking. I know. Cool. What else did you experience? What else can we learn from that interview process?
Not all at once, guys. Slow down.
When I'm actually being with and listening, I actually picked up on a lot of tools I could use in my business.
Yeah, okay. Actually being with that person and listening, you picked up and learned a lot.
And I don't think I would have if I was worried about what I was gonna say next.
Yes. Love that. Yeah, it's interesting because everybody in the interview had a script, right? Had the questions already ready for them. And so when you can go into, you know, for some of our conversations, yeah, I'm just gonna keep referencing the list of presentation, it's so common for us. If you already know the questions you're gonna ask before you get in there, you don't have to think about it. This is the challenge with winging it. You gotta spend the whole time like, what do I say? Why did that work? I don't know. Yeah. Cool. What else?
Something I enjoyed is, I think sometimes we have a hard time talking about how awesome we are. So it felt like a more vulnerable conversation when you're allowing somebody to talk about their strengths and things that they felt like, when they felt strong and capable, and
Yeah.
it feels more vulnerable, which is cool.
Yeah, if I have to edge my way in to brag about myself, that's just weird and conceited, right? But if you actually ask people, like, so what are you really great at? Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Thank you. Very cool.
So piggyback off that, I learned that we're not good at telling the world what we are good at.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you do something for a client and don't tell them about it, it didn't happen. Okay? I got a listing once. It was so funny. So I asked them later, because I knew they were interviewing multiple agents, and I'm like, hey, thank you so much, appreciate the opportunity to list your house. I know you were interviewing other agents. Why did you choose me? What was like one more important reason that you chose me? And they said, you know what I really liked? You told us that you keep copies of every document that touches our transaction, that you told us that you keep copies of that for 7 years. And we just really appreciated that, really appreciated who used the word thoroughness, right? The thoroughness of that. We just thought that was really great. It's state law in Oregon. Everybody does it, right? I'm just the only one who told them that I do it. If you do something for a client and don't tell them, it didn't happen. Right? And you can, by the way, you can do this in a non-braggy way, right? Like, hey, I'm gonna send you a weekly update on everything that we did related to your transaction. And then just flood that email with like all the stuff you did. Itemize stuff out, don't summarize, like, oh, look at all they did. Man, that 8%'s a bargain. But throw that in there. All right, cool. All right, we're gonna shift conversations and we're gonna shift into a break. But to do that, there's a game we're gonna play before you can go on break. And it's called the no game. Called the no game, all right? Because we're gonna learn an important lesson about saying no. Now, some of you are really good at it. It's like a superpower. There was the pilot episode of Friends, if you're familiar with the show. One of the guys has to move, Ross has to move, and he turns to the other guys, and is like, hey, can you come over to the apartment and help me move? And they go, yeah, no problem. They stand up, and they get ready to go, and they turn to Phoebe, the woman, and say, hey, Phoebe, you wanna help us? And she's like, oh, I totally would, but I don't want to. And of course, like, they do this double take, like, wait, that's an option, right? Like, that was her superpower, just this ability to like, very easily just say no. Many of us struggle with our ability to say no. And so when we come back from break, I'm gonna give you a formula for a way to say no, but in the meantime, we're gonna actually practice saying no. Here's how we're gonna do it. What I would like you to do is everybody come up with some sort of invitation that you could make to someone, right? Hey, would you like to come to my barbecue this weekend? Hey, would you like to help me move this couch? Hey, can you help me paint my front door? Hey, you wanna see pictures of my kid? Whatever it is, right? Doesn't matter if it's awesome or dreadful, come up with an invitation. And what I'd like you to do is go ask that question to 3, 4, or 5 people while we're on break, right? Here's the game. In response, you can only say one of 2 things. You could say no, or you could say no, thank you. That's it. It's only 2 responses are allowed. and full stop. Okay? And what I want you to pay attention to is what you notice is going on in your head when you do that. Somebody says, hey, you wanna come to my barbecue this weekend? You go, no. Right? You're already laughing. I want you to feel that. Now, it's important you do this 4, 5, 6 times. Because there's stuff that's gonna happen in the course of this exercise. Okay? What's that?
Every day.
Okay, cool, thank you. And then let's plan to be back in here, we'll do a 12-minute break. No, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lie to you, I'm gonna tell you we're gonna do a 10-minute break. So please be back in your seats at 10:38.
No, thank you.
10:37. At 10:38, and we'll get started. All right, but on your way to the bathroom or coffee or whatever else you're gonna do, be sure to ask somebody, give an invitation, say no or no thank you. Go. Saying no. What did it, so you guys laughed immediately, but tell me what it was like saying no, multiple times to folks. It was uncomfortable, okay? Great,
But it got easier.
but it got easier. So that's interesting, like maybe it's a learned skill. Okay,
It was easier to say no to the things that I didn't wanna do versus the things that I might wanna do.
yeah, okay, it was easier to say no to things that I didn't wanna do, right? No, I don't wanna see pictures of your cat, right? Then the things you do wanna do, you asked me if I wanted to go fishing, yes, I do. Want to. Right, and I have multiple priorities in my life, I have multiple duties and things I enjoy doing and things I choose to do. Yeah,
Wanted to say more than just no.
you wanted to say more than just no, like you wanted to give a reason. Okay, anybody else?
Yeah.
100%, right, like you always couldn't stop it, no. Because, okay, so I wanna talk about that. So Zoe asked me to do something, right? Now you're aware that I have a value system. And I have priorities in my life, correct? Zoe has a value system and priorities in her life. So when Zoe invites me to come to her barbecue this weekend, right? What's that?
A cheese tasting.
A cheese tasting, invites me to come to a cheese, oh, that sounds good. Invites me to come to a cheese tasting this weekend, you know that she values that pretty high on her priority list, right? I mean, she went to all the trouble to put together the party, to get cheese imported from Italy, the whole deal, right? So, or actually probably made it from your own goat or something? No, not yet, okay, we'll get you there. So that's a high value to her. So now suddenly she asked me to go and I don't wanna go. You guys, like, I don't wanna go because I don't want to. Let's say because I've been out of town for 10 days and I wanna hang out with my kids. Right? And I wanna hang out with my wife. She doesn't do lactose, so, right? So we're not gonna. But you can notice, like, what I have to do now is I have to play this game where I have to go, I have to guess, what is Zoe's value system? What does she value more than the cheese tasting that I could use as an excuse for not going? So that she would be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Right, somebody said, Zoe, I'd love to come to your cheese tasting, but I have like a super important nap to take. Like, I thought we were friends. Right? You hear, now you understand this entire conversation is only happening in my head. It's actually not happening in the relationship, it's not happening in Zoe's head. It's only happening in my head. But this is the game we play when we try to say no to people and give the reason. Give the reasoning, when we feel compelled to give the reason. Cause that's the game we play. It's ludicrous, right? I mean, sometimes I wish we could just say like, no, but I like you. Right?
Yeah.
You know, so a formula, oh, yeah, go ahead.
I'd say, something I've really noticed this week is I'm going to a bachelorette party this weekend, and I've had a couple invites for other things this weekend. And I've caught myself so many times saying, oh dang, unfortunately, I'm going to a bachelorette party, and then I'm like, wait,
Wait, no, fortunately, that's super fun.
Passionate about that.
Yeah, it's wonderful and great.
But yeah, I'm trying to put like oh, I'm so sorry, I can't go, like I have to go to this wedding, I don't know.
Yeah.
Trying to make a reason.
And again, then we're actually taking the power out of ourselves into others. So the formula that I've been using lately for saying no to invitations, or saying no to things like this, is 2 + 1 parts. 2 + 1 parts, because the +1 is optional. Is first, give a definitive no. Oh, Zoe, I'm not gonna go with you. Lead it, or start with the hard thing. No, I'm not gonna go with you. No reason. Second, appreciate the invitation. Thank you so much for thinking of me and inviting me. That's really wonderful. Okay. Third, the optional is if that is something that I would maybe want to do in the future, right? I have a conflict this time. I have something like doesn't work for me at that nap, right? That I have. I don't always need a nap. Maybe I'll want to come in the future. Is express that, but hey, would you please keep inviting me though? Because when I am able, I'd love to come to something like that. That's one option. Another option is also this, like, but would you please let me know how it went? That sounds really wonderful. Have a great time. And let me know how it went. Or have a great time. Hey, I'll watch Facebook to see your pictures. Right? But definitive no, without justification, appreciate the invitation. That's the secret sauce. Right there. It's literally, no, but I like you, right? No, but we're still friends. Because that's what we're worried about, is that there's some sort of violation of the friendship. But here's the other thing, by the way, that we do. Is we go, oh, that sounds really good. I will try to make it. I will let you know, right? Am I going? No, right? But we play this little dance, this little game, and then when I see her next Tuesday, and she goes, oh, missed you at the cheese party, right? And then I say this, right? You know it in this end. Oh, I totally wanted to come, but I got busy. Universal American excuse. Because we're all so busy, right? We actually can value the relationship better by just saying, no, I can't make it, and I really appreciate the invitation. Thank you so much for thinking of me. Sounds wonderful. Have a really great time. Let me know how it goes.
Can you say, and invite me again next time?
And invite me again next time. I'd love to
Cause
come.
I think that's part of it, it's like, you
Yeah, if you mean it. Don't do it if you don't mean
if
it.
you don't make, you're right, yeah.
Yeah, if it's like, well, I'd love to come to your meeting party, but. No, I never want to be invited to that. Hey, but if you have a better party, you'll invite me to that one. Cool. So the reason I wanted to talk about that, one is that's an important thing about communication. The second is now we're gonna slide into time management. One of the most important things that we need to really do effectively to manage our time better is say no. This is, Brian was talking about the 80-20 principle earlier. You have to quit your way to success. Because a whole lot of us are doing activities and actions and behaviors that aren't leading us where we want to go. And so we have to be able to learn to say no. And the first person we have to learn to say no to is ourselves, right? And then to others. But let's talk a little bit about how this stuff works of actually getting stuff done. Of actually like introducing a behavior into our life and then doing it consistently. Now, some of this is related to things like habit formation, but I'm gonna start at the early stages. In the early stages, what happens is, and this is what I call the execution strategy cycle. Most real estate agents, when I talk to them, like when I start coaching with them, I'll ask a bunch of questions. And eventually, there's this question that's sort of like, well, what do you know you should be doing that you're not doing? And everybody so far has had an answer to that question. Everybody has known, like, oh, yeah, I should totally be doing that, and I'm not. The first thing that we have to do in this process is we have to actually make a decision to take the action. Now, the time scale that I'm talking about right here is actually very short. It could be an hour. It could be a week, right? Or it could be a day, it could be a week. This is not months. Don't make the decision to do something for the next 6 months. Make a decision to do the next right thing. Okay, make a decision, this is what I'm gonna do today. The harder a time you've been having developing a new behavior, make the time scale shorter. That's what I'll do for the next 25 minutes, right? So what happens next? After you made the decision, take the action. Now, we have this thing in our KW culture, where we're not allowed to use the word that I'm about to use. But it has two different ways of being used, and I'm gonna explain. So the word is try. Have you heard this? Do or do not. There is no try. Okay? Totally agree, totally understand that, right? Hey, you wanna come to my Chiefs party? Oh, I'll try. Am I going?
No.
No, right? Oh, I'm gonna try to call my database tomorrow. Am I gonna do it? No, right? But if I come to the Chiefs party and she says, hey, want some Gouda? And I go, ooh, interesting. Yeah, I'll try that. Am I going to eat it? If I say, yeah, I'll try that,
Yes.
I'm going to eat it. But I use the word try because I don't know if I like it or not. I don't know if it's gonna work. Okay, so one of the things that I recommend when you're trying to put in a new behavior is consider it an experiment. Consider it something that you're gonna try, which in this context means I will do it, but I'm going to reserve judgment till later. I'm going to evaluate it after I do it. Make sense? Okay, run an experiment. So I'm gonna call my database tomorrow. I'm gonna call 10 people in my database tomorrow. Here's a little experiment. I'm gonna take the action. This is where learning happens. What is next? Is we reflect on the experience. Man, I called 10 people and nobody answered and nobody called me back. What can I learn from that experience? I wonder if calling at 2 AM was the wrong choice. Right? Like, I'm reflecting on the experience. Hey, how come everybody hung up on me? I wonder if my script of like, hey, idiot, how are you doing? Is a bad script, right? Now, I'm giving silly, ridiculous examples, but we don't pause and reflect on our actions enough to actually learn from them. So pause and reflect. Now, once we reflected, and this is why it's called a cycle, that creates a new decision. You know what I'm gonna try tomorrow? I'm gonna try calling at 4 AM and see what happens, right? I'm gonna run a new experiment, or maybe I'll call during like waking hours, like 10 AM. Call it 6 PM, right? I'm gonna run different experiments. New decision leads to new action, which leads to reflection. And this is the cycle. And it's ongoing. The other thing that's related to this is actually learning how to pare down and simplify the actions that we're choosing to do. This is what Brian talked about with the 80-20, right? Is learning to pare down and simplify the actions that we do. I'll give you one example. I think I shared this story with a few of you before, but I was driving around in the kind of Portland suburbs. It's like an area of town where it's like 1/4 acre lots, kind of that level of density. You know, kind of get a feel for it. And I'm just driving along and there's this sign and it says open house, Saturday, noon to 2, Sunday, noon to 2. Now, when I said sign, you probably like thought of like a professionally made, you know, like sign company sign. Oh no, this was the worst. This was like garish, like Office Depot, bright yellow, like poster board, stenciled with black marker. Right, and then in the corner was an arrow this big with a brad through it. Like you could spin the arrow around and it was pointing like that way. And I'm like, oh, I gotta see this, right? Now, by the way, I'm not recommending this. The important thing is learn from the simplicity of this guy's strategy. So I follow the sign. Now I ended up going about 1.5 miles, 14 signs between the first one and the actual open house. And I'm following this and it's like, turn here, turn here, turn here, turn here, turn here, right? And eventually I end up doing. Now, once I got to the open house, it was super pro. Like A-frames, balloons, and the lights were all on, and I got in, and there's, you know, printouts of other houses available, and there's all these like call out cards in the open house. It's really nice. I go in, the guy's talking to a family, and they just talked to a family, and he's like, hey, I'll be with you in a minute. I said, no, take your time, whatever. He goes, well, be sure and check out the master bedroom. This was in the before times. You said master bedroom. And you're really gonna like the closet. Okay, cool. So I go check it out. I walk back out and I see the guy. I say, hey, I'm a real estate agent. And I just had to come see you right now. He goes, you saw my signs, didn't you? And I'm like, yeah, they're too bad, aren't they? I'm like, yeah, they're idiots. And I said, how many of them are out there? I must have seen like 14 of them. There's 100. There's 100. Really? I go, so tell me all about this. So like this, you just get started doing open houses. No. I do open houses every weekend. I'm like, really? Yeah, he goes, yeah, I'm doing it for a year. I said, how many weekends do you work? He said, 40 a year. Oh, really? I said, so then what? You have the open house, then what? He goes, well, then on Monday, I call back everybody who came to one of the open houses. And I schedule appointments with buyers and sellers. And I said, that's cool. So how does that work? Because I schedule appointments for Friday. I go, what? It's like, I schedule my buyer and seller appointments for Friday. So I call everybody on Monday. I schedule my appointments for Friday. Okay, cool. Then what? He goes, well, then I have my appointments on Friday. And then as soon as I'm done with my appointments, then I drive around where my next open house is and I'm a wagon wheel. And I put out 100 open house signs and then I can just move the black arrow that is pointing the right way to get to the open house. And I'm like, okay, then what? Because then on Monday, I call everybody who came to the open house. Friday I have my appointments, Saturday and Sunday I have my open house. I go, what do you do Tuesday through Thursday? He goes, I go golfing, what do you do? I don't do that, right? And I said, okay, I still don't quite buy it, right? I go, well, how many houses do you sell? It's 40. Like, what? Sometimes it's 38, sometimes it's 44, sometimes it's 37. But yeah, basically I sell 40 houses a year. And I take 12 weeks a year off. So it does. Not like any open house any of us are doing, right? Maybe a few of you, right? But probably not. All right, we do an open house. One. We go, those don't work. That was dumb. Get us 40. Right? Well, 40 times 2, that's 80 open houses. Right, see the simplicity of the system? Simplicity of the system. There's a guy, there's these two guys, Jesse and Jackson. I was actually in the same Keller Williams brokerage with them, 10 years ago, 9 years ago. And they were like, we're gonna do YouTube. And I was like, what? Like, YouTube is how you learn like DIY videos for how to like fix your, remodel your bathroom. Like, you mean you're gonna sell real estate with YouTube? And like, we're gonna figure this thing out. So it took about 2 or 3 years. And before you know it, they were slinging a ton of houses in the Portland area. And then Jackson's like, I think we've cracked the code. Because here's what I'm gonna do next. He did a family road trip with his family. And he would go to a town he'd never been in. And he would find an agent that he wanted to do business with. And he would say, hey, I'm gonna do some YouTube videos. I'm gonna get some leads. I'm gonna refer all the leads to you. Is that okay? Came up with a handshake agreement. He would spend 2 weeks in the town and we would record 20 videos. And they were all the same formula, right? By the way, they've since like kind of franchised the whole thing. Like you can go on YouTube and I can point out that Jesse and Jackson, like follower, acolyte, like easy. There's a couple of them here in Alaska. And it's always the same, like 4 best neighborhoods in Anchorage, right? 5 reasons you should not move to Alaska, right? What, like over and over, you already know who I'm talking about, right? There's already somebody here doing it, right? And they followed this formula. And he knows that he puts 2 10-minute videos out. I think the formula has since tweaked and changed, the algorithms changed, but that was the formula that he started. He went to 10 different cities in the US and it worked every time. Go out, record 20 videos, 10 minutes each, release 2 a week, 10 weeks. Simplicity. Figuring out, this is why I can talk about double down, figure out what you're gonna do, and go all in on it, right? But to start, run these experiments, use this execution strategy cycle. So what I'm gonna do next, I'm gonna invite you to start the process of doing this. And I'm gonna give you some pro tips along the way with some questions I came up with, related to this. And what I want to start with though is this idea from Douglas Gordon: action cures fear, inaction breeds terror. Right? When you're not quite sure what to do, you probably have a good guess. Do something. Get started. Like, getting started is one of the most important things that you can learn to do. Let's talk about how to get started. Okay. Oh, I wish I'd done those in one at a time. That's okay. First, grab your pen, grab your notes, and I'd like you to, a minute ago, I said, whenever I talk to real estate agents, I ask this question, some version of this question: what's one thing you know you should be doing, but you're not? And I saw a lot of heads kind of going, okay? Write what that action is. If you don't know, yes, just make one up for the purpose of our exercise. Maybe in the next 40 minutes or so, half hour or so, you'll actually get some clarity around what that action might be or ought to be. So what's one action that you should be taking but are not? No, Will you? That'd be great. Well, Green, you got it? You got it. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it, Matt.
Sorry, I cannot answer this question for here, my boss isn't.
What's that?
Says I should not answer this question. Here, my boss isn't in my hermit voice.
Who's that? You want to take that?
Dara.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, everything I'm supposed to do, I'm doing.
Well, if you don't wanna do a work one, because you're scared of your boss. Put down. No, you could also do something, personal. You wanted to do, cause it's a work, like this exact process is how I got into the, workout routine that I'm in now. Right, it literally started with, what am I gonna do today? And then it was, okay, what am I gonna do this week? Okay, so you have the action written down. I'm gonna start calling 10 people in my database. I almost added the phrase every day, but I wanna. No, we'll do it tomorrow, right? Okay. I'm gonna do 2 open houses every weekend. Right? What is the first step? Now, I heard this, so I've been saying for a little while, if you wanna be happier in life, lower your expectations. But I heard a phrase that I think is more helpful for our circumstance right here. Which is, if you're having a hard time getting the energy to do something, right? Like I really should be working out. But I'm not, and it's been 6 months, I've been saying it every week, I should work out and I don't, I should work out and I don't, I should work out and I don't. Then your first step isn't easy enough. Your first step, keep making your first step easier and easier until you're like, I can do that, and then do it. Wanna talk about procrastination? Procrastination is, the next step's too big. It's intimidating, there's fear, there's uncertainty. Make that first step smaller. I was listening to a fitness trainer, who starts with people that have a big fitness journey ahead of them. And one of the first things that they go, okay, after their first session, here's your job. 3 days this week, which 3 days do you wanna go to the gym? And I'll be like, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And he goes, great, here's your job this week. Drive to the gym, park your car, drive home. He's like, don't you want me to work out? It's like, nope. I want you to drive to the gym and drive home. Right? Now, a couple things happen. First of all, it's actually harder than you think it is. It's actually what? Oh, driving to the gym is not hard. Yeah, it is. You got kids, you got clients, you got chickens to feed, you got food to eat, and here's the thing about our lives. There's this famous, just stick with me for a second. So take a second. There's this famous bar bet that you can do. And it's, hey, next 30 people who walk through the door of the bar, we're gonna ask them what their birthday is. And if they have a cup of coffee, okay? When's your birthday, Matt?
January 25th.
January 25th. Anybody else? No?
January
Okay.
27th.
January 30th.
That's pretty close. Excellent. Okay, so we're gonna ask the next 30 people who walk through the door what their birthday is, and I'll bet you a beer that we'll get a match in the next 30. And you go, Josh is an idiot. I'll take that bet all day long. Because the chances have gotta be like 30 out of 365. But that's not how it works. It's actually over an 85% chance that I'll win the bet. Because when the next person walks in, yeah, there's only one chance that there's a match. But when the next person walks in, now there's 3 chances that there's a match. When the 4th person walks in, right, there's 6 chances that there's a match. When the 5th person walks in, there's 11. I'm gonna stop it online. Okay? So we're talking about time management. We are. See, you've got a life that has all these things in it. All these duties, obligations, stuff you've promised to do, meetings you've agreed to go to, clubs you've joined, kids you've had, that continue to keep having activities, right? You have all these activities. So when we introduce a new one, we're not adding one. We're adding the way that this interacts with the 40 other things that we do. Which is why I'm so enamored by this idea of the ruthless elimination of hurry. It also means that if you take out one, you take out the 40 conflicts it has with all the others. So it's actually harder to drive to the gym as a new behavior than you think it is. You've been wondering why you've been saying you should call your database every day, but you never do? It's because you haven't navigated and negotiated the 40 things that you have to work around in order to be able to set aside time to do that. It's not as easy as you think to suddenly tomorrow introduce 2 hours of activity. You already have a full day, right? Now, is it a full day with all the things that you really, want to be doing, with things that actually help you get where you're going? Maybe not, probably not, right? But I always watch YouTube videos for an hour and a half this time of day. Yeah, you do. You got patterns of behavior, right? But I always walk into the office, put my bag here, go get my coffee, go get my water, go to the bathroom, go check in on what's what. What I always do. It's one of the reasons I love traveling so much. Then I suddenly don't have a routine. And then I only do things that are like, get me toward what I want to accomplish, or my goals. That landing, give me some like head nods, if you're like, yeah, okay, I understand where he's going with this. So when we want to start a new behavior, what's the first step? I want to call 10 people in my database tomorrow. Okay, what's the first step? Call one. That's a great first step, right? You could even pause after that first one and just take 30 seconds to do a debrief. How did that go? Okay, it took me 40 minutes to get the courage to call the first one, or figure out who I was gonna call, or find the phone number, or, right? Or, work on my deal. Singular. It's like, okay, that could have been different. So what do you wanna do that's different, right? What's your first step? If it's too hard, make it easier. Second, somebody mentioned this earlier, set an appointment. When will you do it? Appointments have a day and a time attached to them. Day and a time attached to them. In Oregon, we have a couple mythical creatures, as you probably do up here. Sasquatch being one of them, right? Interesting fun facts, Skamania County in Washington, Columbia River Gorge, is the only county in America where it's illegal to hunt Sasquatch. So, just in case you're there, don't go hunting Sasquatch. The other mythical creature that we have in real estate is the $1 million cash buyer from California. Have you heard of them? One of the worst things can happen in your real estate career, 'cause then you'll think it's normal. If you ever get one. And then you'll just sit watching your email, watching your phone, hoping that the $1 million cash buyer from California will show up. You'd be way better off going and finding like $300,000 finance buyers, like in your world. But let's imagine you do in fact get the call from $1 million cash buyer from California. They're gonna land at the airport. And you're gonna meet with them at 3 o'clock on Tuesday. You're gonna meet with them at 3 o'clock on Tuesday. As soon as I say that, you know what to do. There's like 10 activities that go along with, I have an appointment at 3 o'clock on Tuesday. It means that when I call and say, hey, I'm gonna go shoot bows and arrows at 3 o'clock on Tuesday, you go, no, no hesitation, no. $1 million cash buyer, I go bows and arrows, way cool. Right? Tyler's on the fence. He's like calling the California like, yeah. Right? We know how to treat an appointment. We know how to budget our time. We may even learn suddenly how to show up on time for something, right? Because it's $1 million cash buyer from California. That was a subtle thing. It wasn't too deep. This is the importance of learning to set an appointment. This is also another cure for procrastination. The other reason that procrastination shows up is we're trying to keep too much stuff in our head. There's like the action itself. And then there's all the thinking, worry, and stress that surround the action. Cal Newport, what does he call it? Shoot, it just left my brain. Cal Newport, great book, by the way, from Cal Newport, just came out this year, is Slow Productivity. If I can boil that book down to 3 words, it's do fewer things. It's not do less, but it's do fewer disparate activities. You hear that theme over and over from me. Well, one of the interesting things you can do, if you notice you have a lot of worry around the activity, is schedule it. Because when you schedule it, that's no longer my problem. That's Tuesday at 3 o'clock, Josh's problem. Right? Oh, it's out of my head. I don't have to worry about it because I know I have time set aside to do it. Oh, I'm gonna send out my newsletter. What am I gonna put in the newsletter? Oh, it takes forever. I don't understand how this new Canva KW thing works. I'm so confused. When am I gonna learn this Canva thing? I don't get it. I know it's probably better for newsletters, but it's a whole new platform to learn. Right? Is anybody else's internal dialogue? Right? You know what? I'm just gonna start. I'm gonna spend 30 minutes, I'm gonna open Canva, and I'm gonna fail miserably for 30 minutes. Is that easy? Can everybody fail miserably for 30 minutes? I'm really good at it, right? And I'm gonna know that much more when I'm done. And then I can schedule the next 30 minutes. But, good news, that's not my problem for today, I got stuff to do today. I've already got stuff on my calendar, I already got kids to take soccer, I already got plans to catch, bills to pay, right? I got all that stuff to do. That's Tuesday at 3 o'clock, Josh's problem. Figure out Canva. I don't have to worry about it anymore. When I see the KW logo with the blue background, I don't have to worry about it. I just chill out and go, hey, I'm gonna figure out Canva next week. Make sense? Set a date and time. So in your action, sorry, we're supposed to be going through these steps. Whatever action you wrote down. Actually, pause real quick. Let's hear 2 or 3 people share. What action did you write down? What are you working on?
Well, my original was, working on my database.
Work on your database. Okay. I'd like that to get clarified a little bit more. Like, we'll get real specific on it in a minute, but this process will help. Because you say, what's my first step? Work on my database. Call 5 of them. Right? And fix their contact information as I call them. Right? That might be a simple first step. Okay. What will you have to quit, cancel, or negotiate to make that happen? What will you have to quit, cancel, or negotiate in order to make that happen? So you got a question?
I'm more comment, mine would be canceling just unnecessary time that I don't.
Yeah. You wanna know what drives me absolutely crazy? So if we ever talk in the future, you can avoid sharing with me that you do this. Getting into the office every morning and checking the hot sheets You didn't, oh, sorry, I'm not gonna make eye contact with anybody, because some of you already experienced some shame. I'm not looking at any. Those are somebody else's listings, who cares? Your buyer already saw them at 2 a.m. on the 7 apps that they're using on their phone, because they think they're different. Right? Why don't you come in and go find properties that aren't listed? Yes?
Major confession,
Yeah.
because due to the events of Darren Katie, I just have been, I've said no to a ton of stuff in the last 6 months. And I am all about calls all day, every day.
Yeah.
Minimum 25, on average 50 to 100, like just
That's awesome.
grinding it out.
Yeah.
I've probably checked the hot sheet like 6 times in the last 6 months.
Well, no, and this is no confession, this is like, teach us how. I'm telling you, there's nothing in there for you. Yes,
There's deals on there for you to buy.
there might be deals for
Yeah.
you to buy. So schedule it and refine the criteria. Right, because the full retail $1 million house on the hill is not the deal for you to buy, right? So, yeah. You know me, Tyler, I speak in extremes a little bit to help us think of new ways of doing this. Okay, last thing. When will you reflect on the action? Right, so, hey, Tuesday at 3 o'clock, I'm gonna tinker around in Canva, I'm gonna mess up and figure that out a little bit. And then at 3:30, after I've done that half hour, I'm gonna pause, we're gonna go take a walk around the building, and I'm gonna come back and be like, okay, what did I learn? What do I need to learn? What's next? Right? Hey, I called 5 people. They all, great, it was not great, it was whatever it was. Oh man, I have the wrong contact information for half my people. Okay, we have some work to do here. Great, like learn, pause, reflect, notice. All right. Here's what we're gonna do. In a second, I'm gonna have you get in. Oh, yeah, we got plenty of time. We're on a really good spot. We're gonna do what's called hot seat coaching. And you're gonna get groups of 4. We need groups of 4. In those groups of 4, the first person is going to walk through this process. They're gonna say, my action is to, work on my database. The first step is to call 5 people and clean up the contact information as I go. Or my action is to start working on getting my newsletter out the door. My first step is to go and figure out this whole new Canva KW thing. I'm gonna spend 30 minutes on it. Right? I'm gonna do it next Thursday at 3 o'clock. And fortunately, I'm gonna have to sell my kids to the circus because that's when they have softball and I don't wanna take them anymore, right? And then I'll reflect on it when I'm done. I'm kidding, don't sell your circuit. Then, what the other 3 people are gonna do, did it take about a minute or so to just ask any clarifying questions? This is coming, and they're like genuine questions, they're curiosities, not gotcha questions, not like, but like, okay, tell me more, I wanna make sure I really understand what you're working on, okay? Then the last thing would be that the other 3 people in the group would offer help, resources, suggestions that may be helpful. When you offer those, you wanna offer them what's called like an open-handed way, not in a, you should do this, right? You say, hey, have you considered, or you know, something that's worked for me. It's best if it's something from your own experience. If it's something that's not from your experience, just make sure you say that. Like, hey, I haven't like used Canva before, but I did see somebody was talking about there's some tutorials available, so maybe you can look at that. Right? But maybe not something that like you don't have personal experience, or if you don't have personal experience with it, just make sure you put that asterisk on it. When you finish receiving the coaching, so the coaching you should get from the others should take about 3 minutes. After you receive that coaching, thank the coaches. And also, if there's any like new commitments you've made as a result of that process, go ahead and make those commitments. Out loud, you just say them. Now, what we're not gonna do is like set up some accountability for later. Honestly, just saying out loud that you're going to do something to another human adds a huge layer of accountability. One of the things that's interesting is, you know, everybody in here is a person of integrity, right? You do what you say you will do when you say it to another person, right? One of the challenges we often have as it relates to taking action and time management is we constantly break our promises to ourselves. We say, you know what, I'm gonna work out this week, and then we don't. I'm gonna call my database this week, and then we don't. I'm gonna send out my newsletter to my database, and then I don't. And in the process, we teach ourselves that we're unreliable. Have you ever had an unreliable friend? You invite them over to your cheese party every week and they never come, they say they're gonna come, and they never do.
They're gonna try to.
They're gonna try to, right? Eventually you stop inviting them, right? Eventually you don't count on them, you make sure, darn sure you don't call them when your car breaks down, right? We are that person to ourselves. So this is the other thing, if you can begin to make smaller, fewer promises, but absolutely follow through on them, the amount of activation energy that creates for you. If you start each day and just say, you know what, there's only 2 things I'm gonna get done. Does anybody else have this, like on a weekend, it's like, I'm gonna get some projects done around the house. And then you have a list of 47 things, you get 2 of them done and you feel like crap. Put 2 on your list and nail them. And you're gonna feel great. And then wonder what to do with yourself after noon. Right? But instead, we put 47 on there and we never get to all of them. Make a few promises to yourself and absolutely keep them. Your time management will start to come under control really fast. Okay? So say out loud what your commitment to action is. And that alone will create a layer of accountability that's really valuable for you. All right? You're on your own for creating groups of 4, free choice this time. And you're gonna be in these groups for 20 minutes. Please monitor your own time, 5 minutes per person. Give them what, you know, as much value as you can as peer coaches. All right, begin.
Promise. Word of reconciliation. And yeah, that's why I struggle with this, cause numbers have to be uninterrupted. It's not something I can stop, so it starts. Then I put it off because I know that's what my day has ahead. And then I'll be more. By default, this thing, because those things allow. And then it never gets. No, come on, you gotta start this.
I did say you quite follow on you all. They'll have some big one person.
I remember you today.
Yeah, well, back and forth, you're in next to me. Back with me, text the emeralds.
Yeah.
I said.
What's your first step?
I have.
First step, close the door. So he said, make it smaller, so I could.
I think the.
Finish my closeout.
Actually, I want to.
Complete my spreadsheet today. For May. The numbers are done, I just need to reconcile. Except for my final piece today, I need to get the. We'll do it today.
then now we have to think what.
Maybe tomorrow. I'm really tired today.
Well, the action.
I wrote down like a whole bunch of things, like I was revising as I went. So it started off with like doing social media twice a week, and then it was like cleaning my house. And then, just a lot of the things that he said really triggered the fact that. I'm in the coaching certification program, and now that my class portion is done and I just have self-paced work, I kind of like put that on the back burner to focus on business a little bit, so, my first step is to start watching the webinars, between 1 and 3, because I found that I was most successful when I was like watching them at the office, and it gives me a break from work. And then to reevaluate next Friday and see how it's going. I'm gonna say watch webinars next week. Because there may be some appointments in the afternoon. So just kind of use next week as an experimentation to watch some of the webinars that I need to finish up and. Yeah.
What time? Yeah, probably.
Well, I think it's still there. More than 80.
Are you gonna start that?
When do you start?
I used to that. I was like, how would you possibly? What would you rather do? And what I'm gonna take out? Call them and ask more.
Yeah.
I have 2 steps ahead.
That way you can win, you vote, and go back home.
That's like really fun habit.
Yeah.
Habit stacking.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, yeah. I think that's a good problem to have. I love this.
I'm having to.
I was trying to $40 if I got. Someone here, what is your, yeah.
So.
And I know for sure I'm gonna do it. Yeah, I know I do. I'm out with everything.
So the first step is refocus my 80/20 and removing some of the things that I'm doing. So that's my.
That's great. Because it's gonna be delegation, right? Yeah. But the good thing is you have very smart people in your circle that can take care of those things.
On my computer, I'll always know. I can. Back on it.
Do I have this? Stuff's gonna get done sometime, some way. Do it for me, so I'm not. I can't post, what if I put this in a different slide in my schedule to be able to do the 20% of it's most necessary.
Like what? I have a suggestion to do what Denny's gonna do.
Right.
Cause he hates coffee. His database. He'd rather be fishing. So he's gonna call the first person and say, you wanna go fishing with me? So you could also adopt that and to your recruits and say, let's go fishing.
That could be a pretty bad ass.
If you don't join, I'm gonna throw you in the river.
Requires so much effort.
Go out on the big boat in a canoe. I mean.
Yeah, they're great, yeah, or lunchtime. All right.
You can't be eating 24 hours a day.
Fish the river for
So what if,
That's all I ever do.
so make those calls, building up for a recruiting event.
First, 4 people make an appointment with me to go fishing.
Oh, yeah.
Also.
And talk about trying to cover away the problem.
Yeah.
It's a win.
Yeah, it's way more right.
Here's my bill.
My vice. $500 for this fishing session.
No, 250 because we're in the class together. So it's gonna chip right.
Also, we watched a webinar yesterday that offered that the best time of day. Tip was 6 to 11 and then 4 to 5. And Thursday is the most people answer.
Yeah.
Is it country first?
Who was the one on the slide that said that? It was, it was, Ben Kinney gave the webinar, that's the one we were on, and he had a ton of stats.
Yeah, it was
And
super.
they had done huge research on types of data window. Ben Kinney reads numbers. He knows. He knows the numbers, and he has people to give him those numbers.
The first time I went to a family meeting, and that didn't, they've been in business like 30 years.
Oh, yeah, he was.
He's only doing it for 10 million.
Yeah.
Holy.
But I mean, I remember, hasn't been joining Kelly, and I didn't like him so much. No, he was very cocky. But were you at the family reunion? When he came out on stage and he was being interviewed, and I was dumbstruck because I saw a completely different person. And I remember leaning over to Dara and I said, is he okay? And I said, something's wrong with that. And she said, yeah, and come to find out, he was going through a major life situation. And I swear to you, from that day, I saw a completely different person. 100% completely different person. It was all about giving and teaching and growing lives. Like he was very, very, and he had a family situation. Oh, 100%.
Did I get my?
Yeah, 100%. So, very brilliant guy. But he was a punk when he came through those doors. I was like, if this guy ever called me, I would hang up in his face. 2 seconds after I gave him what for it. But I don't think like that.
You do, just not want it.
I'm happy to give everybody what for if they need it.
Yeah, so, I think half of the first task to go. And you make that. And I'm a doer. You know what I mean? Doing what brothers. All of these were. That's not one that I guess. What number is that?
That'd be a little more than halfway through it.
So what's really your first step? Because really your first step is not calling your code, it's cleaning up.
Should be a little more than halfway.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're honestly yesterday.
Yeah.
They really have to get done.
Yeah.
And then what I would do, but it has to be done right. It has to be done right.
What's the first step of that?
The first step of that is going through my schedule and unblocking and making sure that everything else
down the spot for that.
That too.
You know, you're not allowed to feel it, you know, and at that time, saying, great, you know, all that stuff needs to come down to the day right this minute.
Years ago, I moved to like a heater, you know, like your own lab, that needs to get this one. There's no confusion. The president of.
No, and that's really it, though, yeah. Yeah, like, does it have to be during that window? Figuring out how to go, okay, here.
My brain.
I'm going to this next hour. I'm making calls. And without me making these calls, none of them have it. There's no. Here's what I need happening while I'm going to this hour. You get this done, I need this done, I need you to do this, and that. And I'll get back up. That's okay. Because I just know, oh, but I can do it in 2 minutes and I can get it done in 20 minutes. That's me. 30 minutes.
Right.
First line of the third, follow
The biggest lie.
Talking to people and getting points of said is something that not in.
I cannot be.
The tasks you can,
Tasks.
but that's for me, that's what I'm talking about. Anybody can do the tasks. The conversations, the recruits are like. Tell Madeline, I'll recruit them all.
Right.
Tell Sage, and I do love it. But I can tell Madeline, all right, we got this issue, I think we'll figure it out. And I can tell Sage, here's the deal, I'm gonna forward my call to you, I need you to answer the call.
Support me.
Just for, this is one of the funniest things that I've ever seen in like a management training about delegation. Is right, you have all these different bubbles, right? And this is recruiting, right? This is a big one for you. You got these little bubbles too. So when you delegate it to someone else, what you have to realize is that it doesn't stay a little bubble for them. It's a little bit bigger. So there's, you know, there's gonna be a learning, and you gotta be open to that, we know that, but also too, now this little thing that's bigger, also, it's gonna take them just as long as it's gonna take you to do these 20 calls. So it's all, like, it also serves as a great opportunity to eat up some of their time doing something to give you free time. And I thought that was always really interesting, because that's the hesitation, is that when you do it, when you delegate it, it's gonna be so much bigger for them. And you just have to be okay.
So my issue was here, when I had, when I had other stuff in my spreadsheets and stuff like that, because they were never right, it was never a %.
Yeah.
And then I finally got to a point, I was like, it doesn't matter if it's 100%.
Yeah.
Because they're picking up a job, they're doing a task.
And then it comes back to
That's where I
you
got, I was
as a
like,
little bubble.
if it comes back to 70%.
I got 30.
I got 30.
Yeah.
I'm golden. So yeah, definitely.
Let's talk.
All right.
Yeah,
Just
delegation.
start wrapping up your last person?
Amazing.
Last person.
Just start wrapping up this.
Yeah. Eventually, the more they do,
You guys
it
close to
gets
that?
smaller and smaller. And then that one's good. And then it'll be a big bubble for him, but it's.
You guys wrapping up your last
So
person?
well, and then also remembering that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
By allowing you the opportunity to do some of these tasks, if they your chance to grow.
Yeah.
So do I. And then a bigger bubble.
That's true.
It's not such a big bubble. It all lands on
I know, it's about control.
The learning.
Well, and I don't think anybody's succeeding by being an amazing delegator. You know what I mean? Yeah, if you were, I mean, surviving in this game. Yeah, well, at first you have to have a labor. Then you have to be the player. You can be a delegator. Learn to be.
And no, you know, it usually costs us money. So it's a skill that oftentimes like, you know, you don't flex until you can afford something like
Okay. All right. Let's give everybody in your group a high five. Thank them for showing down. You can stay where you are, you can move back to your own seat, however you like. Wait on the forms, the feedback forms, so when I said those are for later. Wait on those.
Later.
They're still, yeah, I know.
Mine's empty.
So hold on, wait for those. So, you just had this experience of, committing to an action, thinking through some of the steps to get it done, setting the time to do it, considering, how you might have to navigate and negotiate and quit some other things in order to make space for it, and then when you'll reflect on it, and then subjected that to some help, assistance, resources, and coaching from your peers. So my question is, what was your greatest learning from that process? What was your greatest learning from that process? And what can you notice about like how you feel about taking a new action that might be different than you've experienced before?
Can I address really, I think your first question, what I thought about this whole thing. First of all, it can be that each of the people in my group, they are currently working on something very proactive to better themselves, their productivity, their, their workflow, their clientele, and they're here in the class, the connection.
Yeah.
The people that are striving to improve, show up to these kinds of things.
Yes.
That's just enough. I love that.
You know what I love? Okay, so James Clear talks about this in the book Atomic Habits. You should read the whole book, but if you only read one line, it would be this. He says, the simplest way to adopt a new behavior is to put yourself in an environment where that behavior is normal. Right? So I don't know how big of a deal this is up here in this part of the world. We have this cult in Oregon. It's called the CrossFit. Have you heard of that? Right? They're super. Does anybody do CrossFit here? Because we're gonna make fun of you for a minute.
It's like jazzercise, right?
It's like jazzercise, totally the same. Right, first rule of CrossFit, always talk about CrossFit. They don't know they're weird. Right? And I'm teasing, right? Like, they don't know they're weird because they're all weird. So they show up and it's just suddenly normal. To dress like that and work out like that, and like all of that stuff. But I didn't know it was normal. Why? Just put yourself in the environment doesn't have to do it. So you're absolutely right. Surround yourself with people who are doing what you want to be doing before you know it, you'll be doing it. Right? Of course, the reverse is true too. So, cool. Thanks, man. What else did you learn about through this process?
If we say it to other people,
Yeah.
now we have to hear it.
Yeah, right. Oh. Yeah, or, oh, yeah. Yeah. Right, now suddenly we're doing, Stephen Covey says, it's kind of a complicated sentence. He says, integrity is doing what you said you would do when you no longer feel the way you felt when you said it. So everybody says they want to show up in the office, 9 AM, and I'm gonna lead generate, I'm gonna call my database. Everybody says that today at noon on a Thursday. Tomorrow at 8:59, you will not feel like doing it. And integrity is doing that.
Coming just FYI from the person who has not identified their new action yet.
Okay.
And also comments. I think it's, when you verbalize what you intend to do or what you want to do, you sometimes realize that's totally not clear at all. I don't even know actually how I'm gonna do that. So this exercise and these questions, it helps you go through, okay, this is what I intend to do, so how am I actually gonna do it?
Yeah.
And there's more steps. I mean, intention is a great first step, and there's more to that. There's identifying what specific actions, the when, how, you know.
Yeah.
You have somebody who's accountable to making sure you open your calendar and not being like, you know.
Right, yeah, 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 often these things that were, you go to a class and there's some rah person who's done some big thing. Yeah, but what they're not telling you is the 400 steps it took to get there. That's why I just wanna talk about like, what's next, right? And we're gonna learn as we go. And when, by the way, when you're stuck and you're not sure what the next activity is, just pick one. You're probably looking at 3 or 4 different things that are all good. Like, what if I pick the wrong one? Then you pick the wrong one. Then don't do that. Stop, quit. But I mean, unfortunately, we grew up with, listen, you join soccer and you're gonna play through the whole rest of the season. You feel like if you start something, you have to finish it. No, you don't. Right? You order the fish tacos, you take one, you bite, you go, that's disgusting. Leave, order something different. Right? You go, you know what I'm gonna try, what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do open houses. You do 4, this is me. I'm gonna call Fizbos. Did that once. Learned everything I needed to know about it. For me. That's not an excuse for you. Until you've subjected to some experience and you know. Make sense? Cool. All right, we're gonna do one last reflection on like kind of the whole day and what we appreciate about the day. But you guys feeling like you got a lot of value out of today? Did you learn some stuff? You feel like you're making progress? Awesome. What I'd love to do is take just a quick minute, I think I told you 4 to 6, to share with you how you might choose to work with me, moving forward, if you'd like to do that. I sent out this text to 10 of my people. I told you on that call I had with Jeff Hoffman about 2 years ago. And I said, what's the one most important reason that you coach with me? And because my clients don't follow instructions, they sent 2. The first one they said was accountability. And specifically, as I dug into this more, many people have experienced what I call shame-based accountability, which is, oh, you said you were gonna do this last week, you didn't do it, therefore it's a failure of character, you're a bad person. It's like it's somehow attached to your identity. It's shame-based. And I don't buy into that at all. I think it's garbage. I think it's bad. There's a few people, like 1 or 2% of people who react really positively to that. Good for them. Happy for you, right? But for most of us, we react really negatively to shame-based accountability. And so what I practice is what I call care-based accountability. And care-based accountability is, I care enough about you, your goals, the people that you're working for, right? Whether that's customers or your family. That I'm going to continue to ask, well, what got in the way? What prevented you from doing it? I think there's probably a skill missing. Or there's like unexplored like priorities and values that haven't been dealt, that you haven't quite figured out how to navigate and negotiate. And so the first layer for me, the first most important thing that my clients say they like working with me is because of care-based accountability. It looks like 2 different ways. The most common way is people will hire me for one-on-one coaching. That's typically 30 minutes a week, 12 weeks a quarter. Typically normally that's $1,200 a month for you all at K-WAG. I do $1,000 a month. If you want to prepay for 3 months, we'll give you a discount. Talk about all that in the future. The other thing that I'm launching soon as we get about 12 to 18 people that say I'm in, as we're gonna do group coaching. It'll be 12 weeks, like I said, about 12 to 18 people. That's probably gonna run $200 a month. There'll be a discount to prepay for that as well. Okay, that's the 2 forms of accountability. The other thing is, I got recently to lead an event, that's me in the right, with rescue trainers, like Swiftwater and high rope rescue trainers. I don't know anything about Swiftwater or high rope rescue, right? Like, I don't know how to do that. the reason they invited me in is because I really like to provide an outside perspective. And it's one of the reasons I started coaching outside of real estate, is it allowed me to look back at real estate and say, wow, we're weird. Like, we believe all these stories and myths and stuff that just isn't true. And so one of the things that I often can provide for you in your business is an outside perspective, because I don't believe your story, right? Like, I don't, until I learn more, and can sometimes help you see things that you can't see yourself, right? This is what I think good coaching is. You look at like athletes, it's a common place where coaching shows up. The coach has to see from outside in order to reflect back to you what's happening, okay? If you are interested in any of that, now you can turn over the form. There's a checkbox on there where you can say, hey, I'm interested in one-on-one coaching, or I'm interested in group coaching. Also, I'd like to offer all of you a complimentary coaching call. It will be scheduled for 30 minutes, and it'll be 29 minutes of me trying to provide value for you. 100% will be you focused coaching, okay? It won't be, I ended up on a coaching call once. It was a sales call, and I hated it, and I'm mad about it. I'm never gonna do that. What I'll do is I'll provide 29, maybe 29 and a half minutes of coaching. And at the end, I'll say, hey, would you like to have a conversation about hiring me as a coach? If you say no, that's great, and we'll be friends. If you say yes, that's great, and we'll be friends, and we'll talk about coaching. Okay? Any questions about that?
His coaching is awesome, you should do it.
Fun. So he says my coaching's awesome, we should do it. Awesome. Thank you, Zoe. Look at that. They didn't even pay to do that.
It was awesome, what can I say?
You can. Excellent. I'll give you a minute to fill that out. First, just a couple questions about what you liked about, or what was most helpful, and maybe what you'd like to learn more about. Oh, the one that says CE to certificate's not about you. I'm using the same form I used last week with the association, where I was teaching a class where there was CE available. So I'm sorry I don't have CE for it.
Can you elaborate on what you did with the rescue team?
Oh, yeah. This was wild. So they hadn't had a conference in a while. And so they did a 3-day conference. 200. This is in, we were in Colorado.
Okay.
So these are trained from all over the world, all over the US and the world.
MRA.
It's called Rescue 3 International.
Okay.
Yep. And they were happy, they were super happy with the conference. It's the first one they've had in 20 years where a fist fight did not break. And I was really happy about that. We got super close. And I actually had been, when the conflict showed up, I actually had just been prepared to teach them how to de-escalate situations when people start like death spiraling in community. But no, what I did is I guided peer-to-peer learning and self-discovery around different presentations that subject matter experts delivered. So like a guy would get up and say, hey, here's how to use miniature models to train rescuers on how to set up bridge before you go out in the field and do it with $10,000 worth of equipment on the side of the cliff. Do it with $200 of equipment on our table. But then I would introduce experiential learning after that. Yeah. It was fun. And then I got to like put a helmet on and go outside the cliff, and I didn't go in the water. It was November in Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks for asking. Awesome. And you can just leave those on the tables. I'll pick them up afterwards. If you want to continue working on those, you can. Well, here's where I'd like to end is, think about the whole day and all that we've covered. We started by asking why it's important that we choose to be here. We had a paired interview. We practiced saying no, learned a formula around that. We learned the execution strategy cycle and some pro tips on how to execute more consistently on the things we know we ought to do, and then had peer coaching around that. So overall, as you reflect back on the whole day, what was something that what was the greatest value you got out of today? Let's ask that question. What's the greatest value you got out of today? And let's try and hear as many responses to that as we can.
I think for me is, I've heard, you hear most of these things before,
Yeah.
But just reminding yourself that you can never really hear it enough,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? And, the difference between saying it to yourself and saying it to others, and then
Mm,
making sure that your integrity is most important, so that once you do say it to others, that you actually do it,
yeah,
right? Like the value in that accountability of being able to tell others,
mhm,
right?
that's great.
I tell myself to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
I do some of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So, and like I said, you get just the value of coming to hear these things that you already know again. And then refocusing on that until you need to hear it again.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
I think there's huge value in that.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull back the curtain off of them here, you guys. We called it advanced communication and time management. The only part about advanced was so that we could get seasoned people to show up. Because you've all, like, there's nothing new in that I shared, maybe I shared it a different way. The advanced is actually doing it.
Yeah.
Right, and so if we created a few ways of engaging with the material, so that you're, because the one way I know you'll never change. Is if I stood up here and lectured for 3 hours. I know that that does not lead to transformation with Bill, but to actually practice it, talk about it, connect with other people, go, oh yeah, uh-huh. Like to create individualized learning for each person, that's where you can actually go, I could do this. That's the advanced part.
And, oh yeah, I remember I need to do this.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, something you said at the very beginning,
Hmm.
changed my whole mindset about class.
Oh, tell me more.
You can learn from the class, not necessarily from your class.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And, you know, learn all sorts of people, you learn a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Who's ever gone to a conference and the most important thing happened in the hallway by accident? Yeah, so that's funny, right? Or I always say like, what happens in the bar after the conference? Yeah, so let's bring the bar into the room. I mean, literally and figuratively, you know? Yeah.
Promise next time?
What's that?
Promise next time?
Yeah, well. Yeah, where's the head, right? Cool. Yeah.
So you're asking about what, I've never, asked my clients why they want to work with me. That
Oh,
was a very, very interesting exercise.
did you hear back?
I heard back from several, yeah.
Yeah, what was one thing that
And
you
it was
know?
like, I never even thought about asking the question,
Yeah,
but,
Yeah.
and I was, you know, I just kind of randomly sent out a few, I can read them if you want.
well, yeah, maybe just read like one thing that you noticed or stood out to you or made you feel great.
Well,
about yourself.
there's a couple, there was a theme, I guess, is, you know, when
Yeah.
it comes to, but, I think the one that actually, kind of made me chuckle, was a very important client of mine that refers a lot of my business to me. And, I sent him that question, what's the most important reason you like to do business with me? And he said, because until now, you've respected our boundaries and not spam tech.
That's great.
But he went on and he said, just screwing with you, because you do what you say you do and you're very knowledgeable about your field. I hope you're teaching the class you're in, of course,
Yeah.
that's how he knows me, but,
I love it.
but the general theme of longevity experience along with proper and straight communication skills.
Is that something you guys can, like, that you guys end up having, that you say, like, yeah, that is him? Yeah.
So, and the other responses were all kind of about communication and.
Cool.
you know.
Here's the other thing that's been happening, right? So we ostensibly, the exercise is ask the question so you can hear the response, right? And that's one layer where this is happening. But as I mentioned earlier, there's something called the simultaneity principle, which is multiple things are happening at once, which is they work with you for one important reason, and it's completely unconscious. By asking the question, it brings it to the level of their consciousness. Oftentimes, when we ask questions of customers and clients, we're not asking so we can hear the answer, we're asking so they can hear their answer, right? So we brought it to the level of their consciousness. You also just reminded them that you're accepting referrals. Because listen, and I hate to be the one to tell you this. This is kind of related to your Facebook post last night. Nobody thinks about you. Not because they're mean, not because they're mad, because they're busy, because they got their own stuff going on. So until you're in front of them, and of course, when you're in front of them, they love you, you're wonderful, you're best, right? But then as soon as they leave, it's like, I gotta drink up milk, right? And they move on. Right? But so that's part of our job is to, hey, remind you, hey, I'm a real estate agent, I'm taking referrals. You just gotta learn to be a little more subtle and clever with it, but this is one way to spam catch your buddy. No, but like this was adding value to you, it was honest, it wasn't disingenuous. Yeah, and so you built a relationship, you reminded them that you need referrals, you brought the reason that they work with you to their consciousness, and you learned it. It's, by the way, if you're ever just feeling down in your business, do this exercise.
Yeah. Not a bad idea.
You like crap. Yeah, awesome. What else?
That was probably my favorite thing too, because I just randomly texted about 3 or 4 of my clients and they all answered, of course,
Yeah,
which surprised me. Because, you know, like I said, everybody's busy.
yeah.
I did preface it by that I'm in a class and success, but I like that idea. And, Matt and I were talking earlier about, that's about my preferred communication.
Mhm.
And I was explaining about, I mean, obviously face to face is the best,
Yeah.
but, I've gotten to where I like to text people and say, I was thinking about you or
Mhm.
whatever, and when would be a good time to call you, because I feel like that gives them that opportunity to not talk, or at least not when I'm in the middle of their whirlwind.
Yeah,
Like, we can schedule this when it's good for you,
yeah.
but they know you're thinking about them, and I think that, I don't know, I just think that's a good way to do it. Obviously, I'd rather be in front of them than anything,
Mhm.
but to give them a little heads up that I'm gonna be calling you or wanna call you and talk about things. I got some really good responses. I was pretty impressed.
Yeah. Thank you so
I
much.
feel a lot better about myself.
Yeah, good.
I think it's also
Um,
a great reminder of what you need to make sure you're always being good at.
mm,
You know what I mean?
yes,
If that's what they see, that's why they're there, and you can remind yourself that that's what's gotten you your business, and you need to make sure that you stay consistent with that.
like hold the
And
line on that,
consistently improving that,
right?
you know, because if you know what's getting you your business, then you know what to focus on to get more business.
But yes, and gives you permission to be more lax on the things that don't matter to them.
Exactly.
Do you know how many things we do for people thinking it's important to them and they don't care?
Yeah.
I was just talking to one of my coaching clients, he works in shipping. And he was like, I make sure this client, that we get everything out of their warehouse by the end of the week, that it's out to the customer. And I go, is that important to them? And he's like, well, I don't know. And then he told me about another client, he goes, yeah, I've been giving them a discount for 3 years. I'm like, for this big faceless corporation, you know, that nobody cares that you're giving them a discount? Like, why, so we do all kinds of things for people that may not matter. Right? And take on a bunch of stress about it. Right? Like, how many times have you texted somebody back, they're like, I wasn't expecting you to text me that.
Yeah.
I texted you at 9 o'clock at night, like, you can wait till tomorrow. But we've taken on something and it's like, no, that's, I didn't hire you because you texted me back in under 1 minute. I hired you because you got longevity and knowledgeable and high integrity, you know. Yeah. Well,
And
this
then
is
that
cool.
reminder of if the communication is what they want, that's what we should be doing, right? Like
Yeah.
sending them these things and doing these things, like you said, that they don't probably even care about.
Mhm.
Well, there's your 80-20 in your business, like, okay, the 20% I need to focus on is making sure that I'm communicating with my clients because that's what they expect from me.
Yeah.
And focusing that effort and time on those things that your clients expect from you.
And so, yeah, definitely like making this part of your process, asking people, like when they complete a transaction or when they hire you, these could be important things. You'll learn it and you'll reinforce it for them. We'll end with this, many years ago, Shel Silverstein wrote a little poem called The Woulda, Coulda, Shouldas, and it goes like this. All the woulda, coulda, shouldas were playing in the sun, talking about the things they woulda, coulda, shoulda done. But all the woulda, coulda, shouldas ran away and hid from one little did. So if I can encourage you, go out and did some stuff. Will go well for you. Thanks for the time today, and I'll be reaching out to you tomorrow. For those of you that want to sign up for, complimentary coaching calls, we're gonna talk more about group coaching or
Before
one.
you guys all escape, I'd like to take a picture with Josh at the front, so I know all you guys love pictures, so come on.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Oh, yeah,
The front of the office or the front of this room?
Just right here.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, Matt and Jenny back.
Just.
I would just, I'm so tired.
You start sleeping.
That would be phenomenal,
I heard it helps.
Coaching.
right? Wouldn't it be valuable?
Oh, man, I'm so looking forward to darkness. Not slept
I
in
was gonna
10
say,
days.
you mean when you go home?
When I go home, I've not slept in 10 days. I'm so wired, like. I feel like I've been drinking 8 pots of coffee a day.
Jenny's coming over here in just a second. You'd be in the middle.
Yeah.
Coming in the middle. Feels weird.
Be in the.
I was about to say, I'll be able to review. You go over.
Who's taking the picture?
Great question.
Who's taking the picture?
There's a trick.
Do you have a delay on your camera? Cause I do.
Huh? Oh,
There's a trick.
there's a trick. Okay.
But we're gonna have to start here and you and I will switch.
Okay.
Oh.
Don't move or your face will be elongated.
Wait,
But I
if
can.
you start here, you need somebody from over
But I
here.
also have a time, you can just put it
You
on
wanna have
the
Sage- you
table
wanna have
and
Sage
put it
do it?
on a timer.
Oh, yeah, someone from here, you're right.
Okay,
Sage
so,
can take the picture.
stay here,
I'll start here and then you.
and then you come grab the
Let Sage
camera.
Snap it for us.
I will.
And you can be in it. Then you don't
Or
have
you
to
can
do
put
the
on the
switcheroo.
table with
Come on.
your.
All right. Make decisions.
Yeah, we can just leave it against the bug.
Oh, you took the dangerous route. All right.
Need a timer, tripod.
And can you let me try my wake up start? I'm gonna do, Sage get in the picture. And then Sage will switch. No, wait, we have to go this way.
So
Okay, you'll switch the camera.
switch with Sage and then why don't you just come next to me? Yeah.
This way.
Yeah, that's okay. So
So-
you're gonna grab it from her after
Yeah.
she records you.
I'll trade.
All right, after I record it.
I know, it's flat.
Oh, you were blind. All right, here we go.
Just tell me what I'm out.
Yeah, you're up.
Okay.
I'll stop here.
Okay. Yeah, good.
It's good stuff.
Man, I feel like I saw this TikTok.
Good.
That's like the game.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
They turn sideways and stand down.
All right. Got my cup of coffee. Right here.
Good job, appreciate it, all right.
Yeah. Hey. You just give me my phone. And get your contact in.